All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining in. Really appreciate the timeliness. Some of us had joined about 5 minutes before 10. So thank you once again. The audio is active for everyone, except for the video. So if you want to speak, you can just raise your hand so we can, you can speak. And the chat room is open also. So you can use the chat room. Let me say hello in the chat room. So we can see the chat. All right. So you can also drop your comments in the chat room if you have any comments. In case you don't want to disturb the presenter at the time. So it's a great place. You can drop your comments, your questions, and then at the end of it, there will still be a question and answer session. So we can still use the session also to respond to any pending queries. Okay, once again, thank you everyone for joining. I'll be sharing my screen now, and we have a presenter Usman here, and we also have Mohammed will be joining us also later. I will still come back at the end of the last speaker, and I will take over from there. So give me a second to share my screen. Sorry, the notes taker AI in the chat room belongs to Abdullah. Okay. I just wanted to be sure if he's on the call before I accept the join request of the AI. Give me 1 second. Okay, it's joined now. All right, so I'll be sharing my screen again. Okay, please give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. All right, thank you very much. Okay, so today we'll be having Usman, Mohammed, and myself will be handling driving enterprise growth with Microsoft 365 Secure Productivity Suite. Again, please, I would appreciate
No,
if
this one is
everyone
my
is
brother.
muted.
Eh?
Just unmute only when maybe you have a
I don't know.
question.
It's technology. Email.
Okay, great, great. Okay, so our agenda for today is we'll be focusing on today's cybersecurity landscape, and then we'll dive quickly to the overview of M365 and O365. And we'll look at the key security features, and then we take the cybersecurity ecosystem, and then we come up. I will return back to special office. So I'll just hand over now to Usman. He will show us more about the cybersecurity landscape. And after that, Mohammed Mamdou will also take over from the overview of all 365 and M365 and key features as well as the ecosystem. Then I'll return back for the special offers for our customers. Over to you, Usman.
Yeah, so good morning, everyone. So these are going to be our objective for today. So the first one we're going to be looking at is demonstrating Microsoft 365 solutions, which includes enhanced productivity and streamlined business processes as well. We're also going to be looking at the explore Microsoft 365 security ecosystem, which has capabilities of E3 and E5 plans, which are the ones that are going to be focusing on today the most, and also protection from modern security threats. Also, we're going to be looking at provide support for implementation as well, which include best practices for implementation and support enterprise growth. So let me share my own screen, please. Yes. All right, so these are the current challenges faced by organizations in today's modern society. The first one is the rising incident of cybercrime. Ransomware attacks causing significant disruptions, phishing attacks targeting sensitive information as well. So as we all know, today we have a whole lot of fraud and fraudsters online and also scammers that try to penetrate into our environment to enter our particular store that we stored. So this issue that we have here, Microsoft is going to be offering a solution to it, which I'm going to be touching on later in discussion. So the second part is increasing complexities in regulatory compliance, challenges in adhering to data protection laws, constantly evolving regulatory landscape, and also insider threat and misconfigurations, which includes data breaches caused by internal actors, misconfigurations leading to security vulnerabilities. So these are the issues that we are facing in the modern world today, which Microsoft E3 and E5 are going to be giving us a solution to it. So we also have trends in security management. The first part is adoption of zero trust architectures. That is, access granted based on specific verification conditions must be met for access. This simply means that, let's say, we can do this one by what we call MFA2, which is multi-factor authentication, where you can set the specific way that you want to verify an individual that access your data or your files in your organization. So once the individual did not meet the requirement to access your files or data in your organization, he or she won't be able to access anything that is stored in your organization. We also have automation in threat detection and response, which includes quick mitigation of risk and enhanced business security. This means that quick mitigation of risks, that anytime you have an issue or anybody is trying to penetrate into your environment, this mitigation of risk is going to notify you that, okay, somebody's trying to penetrate into our environment and stop it for you. And also, we also have the enhanced business security aspect as well, where we can secure everything in the environment that before somebody accesses, just like MFA that I explained earlier as well, before anybody accesses your security in your environment, they have to pass through a specific verification process before they can access it. So these are the Microsoft approach to solve these particular issues that we're facing today in the modern society in our respective organizations. We have built-in security, which protects data from threats, ensures safety of employees and systems. We also have compliance measures that adheres to industry standards and maintains regulatory requirements. We also have automated response capabilities, which quickly addresses security incidents and minimize downtime and impact. So the built-in security part means that all your data is going to protect from threats immediately and also ensure safety of employees and system. That is, once you enable this built-in security, nobody will have access to any files that you store in your environment, and it's going to be secure. And your employees will be working in a safe space without worrying of anybody or external person trying to access their files. We also have compliance measures which adheres to industry standards as well and maintains regulatory requirements. Every requirement that's supposed to be met by your organization is going to be met by the solution that Microsoft is going to offer you. Also, automated response capabilities quickly address security incidents, like I explained earlier in the previous slide. This one, like just like a quick mitigation risk, like I said earlier, anytime an issue occurred in the environment is automated, it's going to let you know that there's somebody trying to access a specific file in the environment and let you notice it immediately. Then you can block the particular person or a particular individual. So the next part is what Microsoft brings to the table. And from here, I think let me hand over to my partner, Mamdu is one that's going to be in charge of this aspect. So Mamdu, you can go ahead, please.
Thank you, Osman. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mohammed. I'm a modern work solution area specialist. Um, I can share my own screen, or would you like to take care of the presentation, Ayomid? All right. Let me share my screen. All right. So, as Osman was talking, today's event is about modern workplace, how Microsoft 365 E3 and E5 is really tackling all the challenges that you might face in the today's cybersecurity world and productivity world. So I am currently going to start by just explaining how Microsoft 365 works. We have, first of all, to understand the difference between Office 365 and Microsoft 365. As we currently dividing those two, they are different as one of them is part of the other. So Office 365 is the smaller one, and it's mainly about productivity and data compliance, basically, in a lower scope. So as you see here, the main plans we have Office 365 E3 and Office 365 E5. And as you see, mainly the focus here is about productivity. And most of us, if not all of us, are using Office 365 desktop apps. And you can use those, of course, on multiple devices. And a single user can use up to 5 devices. And the user can basically bring on personal devices and also work devices. So every device can be used in a way to access work data. So if we started by the productivity part, this is the most easy part about the mail server, Exchange Online, the cloud storage, OneDrive and SharePoint, the communication in Teams, like live events, webinars like the one we're having right now, an event, and other platforms and services. And then we move to the compliance part. And this part is quite important. But first of all, before I move from the productivity, we need to identify the difference between Office 365 E3 and E5 because E5 is an upgrade. So in terms of productivity, you will get the Power BI application in Office E5, which is usually a standalone service, yet we included it in Office E5. So if a user has this license, then indeed they can use Power BI platform. The other aspect when you move from E3 to E5 in terms of productivity is the voice addition here, which is the Teams phone. So you get soft phone that you can use with your current infrastructure. I'm talking about PSTN and SBC. If you have that implemented in your organization, then indeed you can use Microsoft Teams as a phone system instead of any other solution. So that's the productivity upgrade between Office E3 and Office E5. Now, the most important aspect when we talk about differences between the two is that Office E5 has more of a smart compliance structure, meaning in Office E3, you get data loss prevention to be applied manually. Data loss prevention is a feature that you use to make sure that your data inside your organization is being handled properly. For example, back in the day, when there is a sensitive file, you have this label that you can label that file to call it highly confidential, for example, or highly sensitive, something that you want your employees to deal with in a careful manner to make sure that it's not being overly shared or being sent all over the place. Specific people should deal with it, and specific people can view it. Same aspect or same concept is being applied here. So basically, what you do is you label a file that is highly confidential. So what does highly confidential do? Basically, you decide if you want this file not to be emailed outside the organization, then the highly confidential label will prevent something like this from happening. So whenever a user tries to send it, they would get a pop-up saying that you cannot send that. If you want to change this policy to make users able to overcome the policy by providing justification, things like that, you can indeed do that using data loss prevention policies. So you have labels and you have policies. And any purview or compliance admin will be able to work in a very user-friendly admin portal to be able to work with such policies. Now, what's the difference here between data loss prevention, for example, in E3 and E5? In E5, you will be able to automate the approach towards sensitive information, meaning in E3, you have to manually apply the label on the file. But in E5, you have the Microsoft Information Protection that includes something called trainable classifiers. And the trainable classifiers are scanning the data in your organization automatically and instantly to make sure that any piece of sensitive information is being labeled as sensitive. When that happens, you don't have to care much about manually labeling every single piece of data. It is happening by training just one or two classifiers to find sensitive data. Between the organizations, there are some, known sensitive data, like for example, national ID or social security numbers or credit card numbers. Those have, let's say, a standard pattern, like they don't change. We all know how the social security number looks like, how the credit card number looks like. However, in between one organization and another, there are some information that is sensitive in this organization but not sensitive outside. So it's unique to this organization. For example, here in Microsoft, we have this combination between 3 letters and 7 numbers, and this is sensitive to us. Like this should not be shared. Therefore, what we do is we create a classifier and we train it to find this piece of information wherever it resides and automatically label the file that it is in or the email that it is in or the SharePoint page that it is in, and to label automatically that resource as highly confidential. That's basically what a small example of how it becomes proactive and smart when moving from E3 to E5, approaching the compliance part. Now, every single aspect of data compliance is being upgraded. So, for example, the whole package of information protection, the whole package of auditing, of e-discovery, of content search, it takes it to a smarter approach between E3 and E5. There's also in Office E5 one Defender. So this is the only cybersecurity product that we will have in Office E5 before moving to Microsoft E5, and we will explain the difference in a minute. But the only security product that we have here in Office E5 is Microsoft Defender for Office 365. This Defender is mainly about advanced threat protection. So we have this approach, this product to protect against phishing or advanced phishing and malware attempts. That means when when I send you a phishing email, Exchange Online Protection should protect you. right? We're using the spam level, using the IP filtering. These are technologies built in Exchange Online. Yet, we can be more advanced, or I can be more tricky when I'm sending you a phishing email. So I can use a real email with a good reputation from a good IP, and I can send you a compressed folder protected with a password. And inside this folder, there is a PDF file. And inside this PDF file, there's a lot of information. And there is a word that has a hyperlink that if you clicked on it, it should redirect you to a malicious destination. And then you will be prompted to provide your credentials and you can provide them. Now, in Defender for Office 365 here, what you get is the safe links and the safe attachments features. And those are extra layer of protection on top of Exchange Online protection to make sure that these links are scanned, these attachments are scanned, so that you won't really need to click on something that you don't know where it takes you or what it does download to your device. Because we can trick the filtering technologies, but whenever your employees are interacting with the public and receiving emails from customers, receiving emails from other businesses, and all day interacting with external users, indeed, Defender for Office 365 is a great help. And it comes in two plans. Plan 1 and Plan 2 both included in Office 365 E5. And also, like most of the products I'm talking about can be purchased as a standalone. But the point of a bundle is that it combines a lot of products together with around half the price. If you, of course, purchased all of them on their own. So now we just spoke about Office 365. I will move now to Microsoft 365 so that we can understand the difference between the two. Office is part of Microsoft. So Microsoft 365 includes everything I said here. When I say Microsoft 365 E3, I have everything in Office E3 and some other features. Same happens with E5. When I say Microsoft 365 E5, I have Office 365 E5, and in addition to that, I have some other features. Now, let's go to these features. We start with enterprise mobility and security. So, enterprise mobility and security is a product or a group of products. The main function or the main usability of this is to make the IT life easier and more effective. So, every company has an Active Directory. Whenever you start working with network, you need an Active Directory. You need your users to be there, all the objects basically, all the resources to be on the Active Directory. When we start working here, we see that our Active Directory product, we used to call it Azure Active Directory. Now it's called Entra ID. You manage the authentication and you manage the ability to access resources, everything basically related to how your users access anything is related to the Active Directory. So if an on-prem customer is currently using an Active Directory on-premise and they decided to move to the cloud, we don't really take them to start from scratch. What happens is you establish or you configure a hybrid configuration between your on-premise Active Directory and the cloud. And in that case, your identities, every single employee identity, will be moved from the premise to the cloud. In that case, you can use both together, for example, but you can use the advanced abilities of a cloud Active Directory and Entra on the cloud. So you can apply single sign-on, for example, to other platforms using the same credentials of Microsoft 365. You can access all of them and control the accessibility to all of them using Microsoft Entra ID and single sign-on. Features that contribute to the zero trust architecture, like multi-factor authentication, self-service password reset, app proxy if you're hosting applications on servers on premise, conditional access by applying specific conditions so that users should fulfill before be able to sign in. So linking that to a specific network, maybe linking that to a specific VPN, some certain conditions for users to be able to sign in. Um, and more features in Entra ID Plan 1. In ME5, so this is an ME3, right? Intro ID Plan 1 is an ME3. In ME5, you take it a step further, meaning you will apply more of a proactive approach towards identity protection. I will mention one example. So in conditional access, for example, you get to apply certain conditions for users to be able to sign in. They should fulfill them to sign in. Now, there is risk-based conditional access in ME5, meaning that whenever a user triggers a risk, they will need to provide more information to be able to sign in. That means that, for example, if I am now located in Cairo, Egypt, and I'm signing in, for example, at 11 a.m. to my resources. After 15 minutes, I'm signing in again from California to access my resources. Now, let's say we don't have a conditional access policy that prevents that. So I'm in a safe zone right now. However, this triggers a risk, a sign-in risk. This sign-in risk because the the system, it didn't make sense to them. It didn't make sense to the system that I'm signing in from. It's a completely different IP, completely different geographic location, and it sounds fishy. So it might enforce me to apply MFA, might enforce me to apply a biometric sign-in attempt using a fingerprint or a Face ID, might request a call, might request an SMS based on the policy that is configured when a sign-in risk happens. I'm using a device for the first time. Maybe there is no conditional access policy preventing that. However, it actually it raised a flag. So that's why in ME5 it becomes more smart. And as you know, we're implementing AI across all our platforms to help in such things. And we actually released a completely different product for AI. Not different, like it is with Microsoft 365, but it works in parallel with Microsoft 365 platforms. So that's, for example, an upgrade that you would get in ME5. In ME5 as well, you get the identity protection. As Microsoft is keeping track with all the identities that is being sold on the dark web, and we keep notifying each and every single organization that is registered to enter ID Plan 2 or ME5 about any leaked identities, any leaked users related to their domain or their organization so that they become aware that their data is stolen. And we actually help organizations to mitigate that as well. So that's the first part, which is related to identity management. The second part would be related to device management. In both plans, we have the same product with the same features. We're talking about Microsoft Intune. So also, as we know, every organization has the need to manage the devices that are accessing their work information, right? So if I have users who are accessing work data from different location, if you can please mute yourselves, that would be great. Thank you. If we have users who are accessing work data from different locations, then you as an organization has the need to basically protect and manage these devices. Microsoft 365 in general gives each user 5 devices to access. For example, myself, I have 3 devices that I work from. I have a laptop, a mobile phone, and a tablet. A couple of them are personal and one is company provided. So the laptop is provided by the company and the tablet and the phone are mine. So how basically can Microsoft protect that? Um, of course, I have to comply to Microsoft standards. So I have to be in certain operating systems. I can go lower or I won't be able to access. I can only access a certain set of apps, not any app I want from my work profile. And the device itself is protected, but within the scope of work. That means that a certain, of course, you're familiar with MAM and MDM. MAM is mobile app management, and this one is dedicated to personal devices, so that when I join the domain of Microsoft 365, which is very easy, it's like you're downloading a game from the Play Store and you sign in. Once you do that, certain set of apps will be pushed to my device. These apps are determined by my admin, whom I never saw and I will never see. And if I decided, like when I joined and when I'm leaving, I will never see the admin. Yet everything is configured because I just signed in. Once I did, the device became registered. Microsoft has control over 6 or 7 apps on my device. They don't have any visibility or any control over the rest. And I get to use these apps under the conditions that Microsoft has set for me. So this is when it comes to personal devices. Corporate devices are managed the same old way of using a domain controller to manage a device. That means that you're using the group policies that maybe you already have configured on System Center Configuration Manager, for instance, on a domain controller. And these policies will be synchronized to Intune once you decide to use a cloud solution instead of the local domain solution. When you do that, you'll be able to manage these devices and apply the same policies you have. Everything will be basically synchronized to the cloud. The Intune Plan 1 and it comes in ME3 and ME5 in both platforms or on both licenses. But Microsoft Intune in itself has way more different features that you can get as a standalone if you wanted to. And you can add them in either as an add-on to Intune Plan 1, of course, you can add either Intune Plan 2 or Intune Suite. And it's a deep topic that we keep investing in because we know that endpoint management is really essential to every organization. And based on the use case, you can decide if you want to upgrade your Intune Plan 1 to other plans or not. And we keep adding new features every day because it's pretty important and different scenarios are popping up every day. So that is the second part of Microsoft 365 in addition to Office 365. So to go through that real quick, we have Office 365, as you know, and this one here is related to productivity and data compliance. And those are plans that are being sold as Office E3 and Office E5. When we talk about Microsoft E3 and Microsoft E5, we get everything in Office. And in addition to that, we get enterprise mobility and security. I was talking about enterprise mobility right now in identity management, Active Directory, and endpoint management, which is Microsoft Intune. Now, to continue that, we move to the cybersecurity part, I would say. And I will just move from this slide. And I will talk about, before actually going deeper in cybersecurity, that part of the upgrade from Office E3 to Microsoft E3 is the Windows upgrade. So basically, in order to use a device properly, you should have Windows Pro, right? So I'm talking about only Windows right now. I'm not talking about any other operating system. So just in case of Windows, which is usually the case in the companies, you use Windows, right? Windows Pro is being licensed on its own. So we don't really sell Windows licenses here. You get Windows Pro when you get a product key or you get it from the manufacturer. So it's a different thing, right? Windows Pro. Now, once a company has devices that are licensed with Windows operating system, and this company subscribes to ME3 or ME5, the Windows itself upgrades from Windows Pro to Windows Enterprise. And a lot of capabilities are being unlocked and being managed across the organization. So that means that the administrator has the ability to manage the features of Windows across the devices that are being logged in into the Windows profile using a licensed user, being able to take advantage of all these features here. So that means you'll manage the authentication across these devices. You can apply data loss prevention across these devices. And by the way, data loss prevention is not just for Windows, it's also for Mac. And you can apply DLP over Mac in ME5 as well. And You get basically to control what happens with these devices under any circumstances. If a device got lost or stolen or anything, and it has work data on it, you get basically to erase the device and unjoin it from domain after you make sure that all work data has been erased. You get to use, for example, Windows Hello to manage authentication to these devices. When users try to sign in, you can force Face ID, you can force fingerprint, you can do whatever you want, because now Windows Enterprise, from the name, it's now an enterprise device that should be protected and managed in all ways. So, as I was saying, most of these features do exist between ME3 and ME5, but you get the upgrade when you basically use Microsoft 365 in the license. So, um, as we currently stand, we're talking about a productivity boost, a compliance boost, and as you see here, a mobility boost in terms of user management. The breakdown of the features, as you see here, and I will use a map in a minute to show the differences basically between the two plans, Microsoft 365 E3 and E5. But to make it a bit, you know, to put it in context, you see that in ME3, productivity, the collaboration, which is also part of productivity, and the security and compliance is varying between the two. And that's basically the addition from Microsoft 365 or from Office 365 to Microsoft 365. Now let's talk about the cybersecurity real quick. And I will use this slide to, put it in a simple context so that we can make sense of it. We have four defenders, right? In Microsoft 365, when it comes to cybersecurity, we have four defenders. I spoke about the first one, and it's the only security product in Office 365 E5, which is Defender for Office 365. We also have Defender for Endpoint, which is an endpoint protection solution. And we have Defender for Identity, which is a solution that is linked to Active Directories to protect authentication. And the last one is Defender for Cloud Apps. Of course, we have Defender for Cloud and Defender for Servers, but those are related to a different workload, so we will not talk about them today. But let's assume together that we have a user, and this user is signing in to his email, and he received an email, then clicked on a link. Or he received an email with an attachment, downloaded the attachment, and it ran a malware on the device. In any scenario of those, or maybe a brute force attack, like a password spray, for example, something like that, and then the user got compromised. What happens is the credentials currently, like the latest cybersecurity attack for identities, was actually using the cat data on devices to obtain the passwords. And this is very advanced. Like, this is the first time I see something like this. And it happened recently. Now, the user has been compromised. And once the user got compromised, the attacker started moving lateral movement inside the organization, jumping from one surface to another, obtaining information until maybe the whole domain got compromised. Afterwards, and using the single sign-on, the third-party apps that are being accessed by your users have been also accessed now, and data was extracted from them. And now the attacker got what they wanted, the data. How Microsoft 365 protecting you from each and every, or at each and every single movement here. The first defender in this regard that is protecting you against phishing attempts is Defender for Office 365. It is dedicated to malware detection, the attachment detection, and URL detection. And as you see here, it is really covering this part and adding, because when we talk about Exchange Online protection, okay, what about Teams? What about OneDrive? What about SharePoint? What about Yammer? any or every single Office 365 platform should be protected the same way. And Defender for Office 365 is dedicated to all of those. So we're not just talking about Exchange here. We're protecting the whole platform against such attacks. When moving from here to here, we get now to endpoint protection. If you're using Windows, you're familiar with Microsoft Defender client that is installed on every device. This Defender basically is connected to, if you were using ME3 or ME5, is connected to a wider network that is being managed from a security portal that the cybersecurity administrator or endpoint administrator has full control over. What it does basically, because as I said, it makes IT life easier. Once the cybersecurity admin opens the endpoint portal, they see a score, and that score is measuring the security aspect of the whole network. That means if there is a device that is lowering the score of the endpoint protection, then you get recommendations and an action plan on how to fix this, for example, device. What should be done there? And the good thing about the ecosystem of Microsoft 365 is that it's all linked to each other. Meaning, if you need to apply data loss prevention on sensitive information located on a Mac device, you would see this recommendation appearing there, lowering the score, and an action plan on how to do it. And data loss prevention is not related to Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. Yet, it can be accessed from the compliance admin center or the purview admin center. And that's why it's an ecosystem that is all working together. And it doesn't really need you to start going for different solutions at the same time together in your work environment for protection and cybersecurity. So back to this illustration here, and as you see, Defender for Endpoint now has this automated detection and response towards cyber threats. And let's say that that doesn't exist, and now we're moving to the identity compromising here. Intra-identity protection is going to actually protect you from the brute force attack. And this is a feature in ME5 about identity protection, as we were talking about it a minute ago. And identity protection here basically make sure that your organization's credentials are not leaked anywhere. But let's talk about Defender for Identity basically. We spoke about Intra ID as an Active Directory. Every single attempt to sign in to any platform triggers an event on your identity provider. In simple terms, Defender for Identity is the product it's cloud-based, yet it works with both Active Directory on-premise and cloud. Meaning, it doesn't just protect Intra ID, but it also protects your on-prem Active Directory. That's why we get many cases of customers who are currently working in a hybrid environment, and they are not just satisfied with Intra ID. They want Defender for Identity to protect both directories in this hybrid configuration because the Active Directory on-premise is still it's not up to date with the improvement that is happening every day on the cloud. Defender for Identity is a unique feature for ME5, and it is made for large corporates who want to protect both on-prem Active Directory and cloud Active Directory. How it does it? It analyzes every single event, every sign-in attempt, every logout attempt, every new device, everything. Basically, if you clicked on sign in, there is an event. If you provided the password maybe a couple of times, if you signed into a new platform from a new device, anything related to an authentication event is being logged on Defender for Identity. So what we're saying right now is that Defender for Identity is connected to the Active Directories, analyzing the sign-in attempts, analyzing everything, and maybe building an incident if there is one for admins to take care of it. Now, if we ignored all of this and went to the final part, which is attacking or accessing third-party apps to extract data from there, and that's basically the purpose of the attack. Here, you see Defender for Cloud Apps, which is also an exclusive feature to ME5. In Microsoft 365 E5, you have the ability to start protecting any third-party SaaS you're using in your organization. So, of course, we are responsible for securing our Office 365 apps, as you see, and we have a dedicated Defender for that. But what about the other software as a service from different providers? If you're using maybe another app for communication, if you're using another platform for CRM or ERP, anything that is cloud-based can be protected, can be supervised and monitored using Defender for Cloud Apps, or as we used to call it, Cloud App Security. So the discovery of that happens once a user in your organization uses their Office 365 credentials to sign into this app. Once you do, now your Active Directory has information about this app, and you will be notified that your credentials, like this is a gate to your organization here. You should protect this app too. You should monitor it, you should secure it. So Defender for Cloud Apps scan it, makes sure that it is safe for your users to access this app using their SSO credentials that they are using all over the place. Because we support SSO, but at the same time, we protect you against whatever this SSO might get you eventually. I hope this illustration or this slide was a simple yet clear one to explain our defenders. And I will just jump real quick since I still have a couple of minutes to show you something here. And what I'm gonna show you right now, I really encourage you guys to actually access it yourself, take a look at it. Maybe it would be helpful. I'm sharing my screen in a second. So this is a public resource, right? And what we were talking about, Office 365 here on the top left. I hope my screen is visible now. On the top left, there is Office 365 Enterprise. You see E1, E3, E5. There's Microsoft 365 E3, E5. And these are add-ons for just cybersecurity and data compliance, as we were talking. So what you do with this public resource basically is that you choose Office E3, for example, and Office E5, maybe ME3 as well, and ME5. These are the plans we spoke about today. And you can start comparing. And you will see that what I was explaining in the beginning, that Office is part of Microsoft. So you will see similarity, for example, let's say E3 and E3. You would see similarity in this part, exactly the same, right? As this one is part of this one. But once we move to enterprise mobility and security, you see nothing in common unless this intra for Office. And this one is basically available in every plan. What is this one? This one is the multi-factor authentication. You don't have to pay extra to get multi-factor authentication because we as Microsoft cannot, and I'm being 100% like blunt about this, we can't just give you a platform to access using username and password. That won't make sense today. You need to have second and maybe third step verification. And we provide this capability to every organization that works with Microsoft. If it's just about username and password, we are doomed and we will be hacked eventually because we know users are writing those down on sticky notes and saving them wherever. And that doesn't make sense. We need to have something else to verify the authentication here. So if we started to check the different features that you have, moving from Office to M, you see that the differences started to pop up. Enter ID Plan 1 for Active Directory in E3, Enter ID Plan 2, E5. Defender for Endpoint in E3 Plan 1, Defender for Endpoint Plan 2 in E5. Can go deep and deep. If you have a feature here that It sounds interesting to you. Okay, so what is enhanced attack surface reduction? You click on it. It would actually open the Microsoft Cloud knowledge base. You can go through that, understand what is attack surface reduction, what's the difference between plan 1 and plan 2, and hopefully it would make sense to you and you would make more sense out of it. So yeah, that is a platform that I encourage you guys to take a look at. And I can say I'm done right now. But yeah, now I have an idea. Well, how do you want to go with this? You can take it from here. Ayomide, are you here? Usman?
ba zan idan kika je zuwa Gettu ba. Daga nan zuwa Gettu ne ai Gettu da ya fi sau ina taka in je Gettu. In na jira mashin shine samu yanzu 300 ko 450.
All right. So until anyone from the team actually speaks, do you have any question, guys?
Okay.
Osman, you here?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I can hear you. Sorry, it was network issue, but we're back.
All right. So yeah,
Do anybody have
my
any question, please?
yeah.
Okay, Mr. Oriaki, can go ahead and ask a question, please.
Okay, good morning. Hope my
Good
audio
morning.
is good. Yes. Okay. So thank you very much for the insightful session. So my question, I don't know if it will be related. So out of all these plan, I know that I wasn't sure, but I joined late whether attention was paid onto the storage capacity of this plan. So the issue I usually relates to when user max out maybe a user on E3 for instance max out their email storage. And I know that there's an online archive that you can, but there's now an instance where the archive gets um, I wouldn't say maxed out, but I know that it also expands as well. So, where my question is, let me quickly ask my question and just explain. But my question is, does the Microsoft E5 or is there a Microsoft uh, plan that has maybe unlimited email storage? So why? That's my question. So why?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that question.
Sorry.
Let me explain it to you. Basically, the plans that we should ask about now are exchange online plans, not the ME3 and ME5. So let me basically put something on the screen, exchange online plans, and explain how this is relevant. So Microsoft 365, I'm sharing my screen in a second. Microsoft 365 is a bundle, right? But this bundle consists of different plans or different products. In Exchange, we have Exchange Online Plan 1 and Plan 2. Plan 1 is the one that I didn't mention any bundle today that has Plan 1. It does exist in Office E1, for example. Uh, Exchange Online Plan 2 is the one that comes with ME3 and ME5 and Office E3 and Office E5, right? So this one comes with 100 gigabyte of a mailbox and 1.5 terabyte of online archive. And this is for every licensed user. So this archive, we call it, between brackets, unlimited, because who is going to fill up 1.5 terabyte of archive? This comes with the mailbox, right? So it's not unlimited, yet you can utilize the online archive to save your data and back it up, for each mailbox, because this comes for every mailbox. So that means that this is protected. Data is backed up to the cloud, and yeah, it's not unlimited yet. It's too big. So these are the features of the cloud storage when it comes to Exchange Online. Does that answer your question?
Okay, yes, it does. Thank you very much. So please, can I have a
You're
backup
welcome.
follow-up? Can I have a follow-up question? Just
You have another
one
question?
last thing. Just a follow-up question.
Yeah, please go
Okay,
ahead.
okay. So the question now is, I mean, maybe as an admin and the IT admin, so are there
Yeah.
ways that is there a way that one could really implement policies or manage, I mean, some certain instances where users are, well, what I mean essentially is that to control um, the storage, because for my case, when I examine a user who is already maxing out his or her mailbox storage, I tend to observe that it's um, it's due to unnecessary um, emails. There are too many attached files. They might have attached
Yeah.
multiple files too many times, and you see all those things add up. And I'm not asking a question. Probably there's just a technique or a kind of sensitization that one can adopt in my organization to ensure that uh, users are sensitized on managing the storage and also so that, because I know that there is I understand, I'm happy to hear that there's the 1.5 terabyte online archive now, but the issue now is that the existing mailbox of the current user, even after having the old emails, the existing mailbox of the current user might just be 6 months old. I keep, and it's still, and at the point it's now saying the mailbox is still full. I still want to move 3 months old mailbox into the archive again. So I know that the user is having is being careless with space, too many mails, unrelated attachments. So are there things that I want to implement to help mitigate this circumstance? I don't know if my question
Well,
is.
first of all, your voice is not really clear, so I'm trying to catch as many words as I can. But let me put it this way. Of course, we have the retention, right? So retention will really identify, or you set up the retention, basically determining when emails should be moved to archive, and you basically labeling emails, because in the beginning I spoke about data loss prevention labels or sensitivity labels. We have another type of labels, which is the retention labels. So retention labels, basically you label emails and you label items for deletion or for moving to archive. That would help you to get, the unnecessary data that is stored in your storage to archive or to be deleted. When you use retention, you will be able to do that so that you don't run out of storage real quick, and you should be able to organize your information. Retention works across OneDrive. Exchange, which is the email, of course, and works as well with SharePoint. Everything can either be retained or deleted using retention policies. Retention, for example, if you want to know which plans it does exist in, I believe in E3, we should add, yeah, retention labels and retention policies. They exist in E3 and in E5, both Office and M. So you'll be able to use that to move unneeded information from your mailbox or your OneDrive to deletion or to archive. I hope that answered your questions.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
That's all.
Thank you. Any other questions? I see a question about
Any other questions,
business.
please?
Yeah, I see a question about business premium and business basic. All right, so these are plans that have the same exact features I was talking about, and it's limited to 300 users. So the question, guys, is a comparison between business basic, standard, and premium. So these plans, business basic, business standard, and business premium, are really are basically plans that are dedicated to the smaller organizations that can work that need only up to 300 employees. That same products we were talking about. So basically, in business basic, you get Microsoft Teams, OneDrive, SharePoint, and Exchange. You don't get the desktop apps. If you wanted the desktop apps, so you can open basically Word and Excel and PowerPoint on the browser. So you open a new tab here and you open Word, for example. But when we move to standard, you get everything in basic. And in addition to this, you also get the desktop applications of Office 365. When moving to business premium, you basically get everything in standard with with an upgrade to some productivity tools like Exchange, for example, moves from plan 1 to plan 2. Um, but you get as well with that cybersecurity products and endpoint management and Entra ID. So you can use either this page to compare between these plans, or you can use the maps that I was using a minute ago, right here. And yeah, you can compare between the three plans. Same way here. The same way we compared between Office E1, E3, and E5. But it's the same products, yet lower prices for smaller organizations. And it is a bit different when it comes to the availability of features. Like for example, in Business Premium, you get Defender for Endpoint with the mixture between Plan 1 and Plan 2, mixing features together. And in E3 you get plan 1, the whole thing, plan everything you get in E5. So yeah, it's a good plan if your organization is less than 300. You can mix and match between these licenses based on your users profiling. Any other does that answer the question?
There is a follow-up question from Maya
Please, yeah,
in
go
the
ahead.
chat.
Of course, I see the question about data protection. So when you start comparing between business premium and in E5, because I would say that data loss prevention, when we're talking about financial data, if you are going to do it manually, you use business premium. But if you wanted an automated approach to protect the data, then you need ME5, because ME5 is going to automatically find sensitive information, label it, and apply your policies accordingly. So that's why ME5 is really would be better if the data is sensitive. And based basically on who's going to work on data, like for example, you can get financial team E5 and get the rest business premium. Both will have great features, but one is better than the other, as E5 is for more sensitive information users, right? So it depends on the scenario, because as you see, DLP exists in both, but it's completely different when it comes to implementation and usability. So users who are going to work day to day with sensitive information, and you need really to secure that, you would work with E5. Yet the rest would be fine on business premium. Compared to E5, configuration manager, what do you do in this case? You wish to the feature especially. Yeah, what if it doesn't exist in ME in business premium? What would you do? You would get a plan that actually has it. So still, you can license enterprise plans as many as you want. Like you don't stick to the 300 thing unless you want to license with business. But if you want to license with enterprise plans, you can start with one license if you want. So configuration manager doesn't exist in business premium. Yes, it doesn't. However, you can use ME5, or you can get Intune as a standalone. It's based on your needs. Amazing. My absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. Any other questions?
Okay, so great. Thank you, Mohammed. In absence of any other question, I would be sharing my screen right now. Just confirm when you can see my screen. Okay, thank you very much. So to proceed on this, we really would appreciate every organization who is actually present today to understand what is available in implementation, which will assist your organization in getting started, right? So from January to June, we'll be offering a discount on E5 licenses. That's about 15% off. So you want to look at if it's something you want to really do and make plans ahead of time, maybe this December. So there are other supports which we are offering, which is the security assessment. So basically, you want to understand how your organization is standing at the time. Basically, you might be doing what you think is right, what you know is right. So, but it's also important that you have some form of assessment to see how good your security posture is, right? So there will be a free security assessment for anyone who indicates interest and qualifies for the conditions, right? And then there is also a free trial for up to 25 users for 30 days for E3, also for E5. So if you want to at least start something, get to understand the platform, see how this thing really works beyond what we've said, actually, you can, start with indicating interest and the free trial. So you can, get a hold of it, understand it, and then, you know that you're included into your next year budget, and as you're planning this year, you know that everything is sorted out, ahead of time, right? How can you redeem this? You can scan the code. If you are on your PC, you can use your phone to scan the code, and you get the form. You can also contact your account manager if you have an account manager already, so you can just contact directly. You can also send the mail to gtm@velvet.com to also get started. So, but either which ways, if you check the chat right now, you will see the there is a form in the chat. Please, everyone who is on this call, it's important that we have a survey, field to explain to us, how this event went. If you really love it, if it's something that you like to attend next time, just tell us how we are doing. And also there is an option where you can show or say anything about it, give a comment or tell us something you want, or you even ask a question directly, right? And we also the offer for this interest form also contains the 15% discount indication. So you can also directly indicate if you want to go with the 15% discount, so we can include you in time. If you also want to go for the free trial, you can indicate that, so we can include you also in time. If you also want to have the assessment conducted, we can also nominate your business if you indicate that interest also via the form. So any which way you want to take, we would like to just give about 5 minutes for everyone to fill it out, so we can do a vote of thanks and we'll call it a day. Thank you once again, everyone. Thank you very, very much, Mohammed, Mamdou. Thank you, Usman. Thank you, everyone who is on the call. Thank you, everyone who joined in time. If you also missed, you can also indicate that you would like to have maybe a one-on-one session with your team. Maybe you have a security team, you just want us to just show them this, or you already have E3 or you already have E5, you want some level of training. You can let us know also in the section for the comments where you can integrate interest, or still you can shoot us the direct email at gtm@velvet.com, and we'll attach you to an account person, or we just directly respond to you. Either which ways it works out. Thank you very much. Okay, someone hand is up. Please, can you go ahead, please?
I made a quick one. Just to confirm if the webinar will also be uploaded on your social media, so that we can, for some of us that missed the beginning, can go through it.
Okay, yeah, definitely. It will be uploaded on our YouTube channel as usual, and you will get a link to it after the event. Just about, I think 5 hours from now, everyone should receive an email who attended, and yeah, we will get the link directly. And if you're already following us on YouTube, you should get it in the next 2 hours. It should be uploaded there. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Please, let's fill out the form, and we'll do a vote of thanks, and then we will be out of here. Thanks, Mohammed. Appreciate you, Mohammed. Okay, I don't know if everyone is seeing the form, so I could just reshare that. The chat, the link to the form. I think this is the QR code. Also, in case you can't see it, you can just scan this and you will get it. And then you can also, in the chat section, you can click to start here, and then it will take you to the survey form directly from here, from the chat. You can use it on your mobile, you can use it on the PC, either which one works. So we have 15 minutes that we have spared. That is great, and I really do appreciate everyone for being with us up to this time. let me let everyone go now. So please, if there's anyone who wants to do a vote of thanks now, let's you can raise your hand. So I would just call up on you and anyone who wants to do a vote of thanks for the webinar before we close out. Okay, if in the absence of anyone, let me do it. Thank you each and every one of us, everyone who is on this call. We appreciate your time coming out, sparing from your busy schedule to attend. We hope that this webinar was, inspiring to you and insightful. And we wish that you, adopt security uh, suggestions that come from Microsoft. And as much as you're willing to adopt, we are also willing to support you. If you need any assistance with deployment, we will also be here to help you out on that. So in absence of no other questions, I will close the webinar now. Thank you each and everyone for attending. Please do have a lovely day. If you want to send me an email directly, this is my email in the chat. Just here. Second. Okay, if you want to shoot me an email directly, please do that here. If you have an account manager, you can send my message directly. Otherwise, you can just send to me and I'll also attend to you. Thank you very much, each and every one of us. Please do have a lovely day. Bye-bye.